First of all, very, very welcome. You'll mostly know me. I'm a digital immigrant since 1995, and I love being an early adopter and an innovator. This is a number called 129,000. It's my LinkedIn number when I joined LinkedIn. And I got a letter later on from Reed saying, thank you for jumping in really early and working with me using LinkedIn. So I like to start things really, really early. And I think it's a great opportunity right now with what's going on that we really dive into the deep end of the pool and do this online meetings. So when we do online meetings, this is not something that is invented yesterday or something new. There's a word in Wikipedia called telecommuting. And it basically is that you can commute with and work, then you don't need to travel to a physical work. And here is from Wikipedia, United States Marine Corps began in 2010, people to work from home. Now, the feelings that you have when you're forced into something is different, of course. And they can be, like, oh, this is a really hard challenge. And I don't really like online meetings, or there's a webinar thing or whatever. Or it is a cool opportunity and I really, really love doing this. So my first question is, and I'm going to try to do a poll here. What do you think as an audience? You're going to be anonymous, so I can't see what you're answering. So I'm going to launch the poll. And the first question is, what do you think in general a person over 35 years of age thinks or has as feelings going online with workshops and meetings? So remember, this is a person over 35. And what do they think? Do they think it's a hard challenge, or they see it as a really cool opportunity? I'm going to end the poll. So right now we see it as a challenge. One said also it's a cool opportunity. I like that. So we have a couple of 35-year-olds still thinking that it's a cool opportunity. So I think it's very, very important to what mentality and what mindset, how could it be designed? I think that is a really good question to have in your back of your head when you're doing this. So the attitude and mindset will probably determine how much you succeed in running an online meeting or workshop. Try to identify both your own and your colleagues' fears and hesitations. And what can I do to mitigate them? For instance, well, video. I don't feel comfortable with video, or do I? And what can I do to feel comfortable with video? Probably do more video recordings and probably work more with this kind of medium. You'll get more comfortable with it and you will mitigate your fears and hesitations over this. And I would recommend that you see this as a young person, that you're born in 2085 and later. And what you usually say is that if you're 0 to 18, whatever is in the world right then, you get like, oh, this is cool, this is what I will use. Like a smartphone, if you are born in the year 2000, it's always been around. If you're born in 1984 and earlier, you're over 35. And usually what you say is that we have a little bit more fixed mindset, is that, well, we like this kind of music and we're not going to change about it. So see the advantages, see it as a young person with a cool mindset. The 3 strategic questions I would like you to think about and ponder upon is, what is needed to solve to do the things online that I need to do? How is it solved and done today? And how could it be solved tomorrow? What are the things we can change? And I'm going to go back to this, and maybe we need to rethink the whole way of working. When I talk about possibilities with advantages, is it with online? You can record meetings. It saves time. We don't need to travel physically to each other. It enables totally new ways of working. We can do online voting, as we start doing right now with polling. It probably saves a lot of cost if we don't need to fly back and forth all over the world. And actually, when I started this, we started it as, why don't we challenge and why don't we try? And this was way before we got home office and locked in due to Corona right now, is that we started to challenge, do we need to fly over the world to make a workshop to work, or can we do it online? And I'll tell you a little bit about this later on. The whiteboards that we're going to use, they're permanent, i.e. they can stay in the room and we can elaborate them further. It's a global talent pool. All of a sudden, if I have an online meeting, I can pull in resources from other areas, so I can call in experts. And there's probably a lot of other things that you can think of is advantages with online. So the series called Remote Online Meetings and Workshops. And the first episode is, let's dive into the deep end of the pool. I'm just going to try to give you a broad overview of how to best cope with this transition from physical meetings to online meetings and take advantage of the opportunities. In the chat or via email, Please write in if you have any questions, challenges, or anything that you would like me to address. I probably won't maybe address them in this episode, but probably in the next future ones. So write down what is your expectations, what is your thoughts, what is your hesitations, and write that down, not just for this episode, but also for the future expectations. What would you like to get out of this? I would start to say there's an old statement and paradigm. To create real value, share common goals and visions, do agreements, do real work and to-dos, and create real connections, we need to meet physically in a meeting. I hear this a lot, and my assumption, mostly this is 36 pluses, born in 1984 and earlier, because I would like to challenge this statement. Do we really need to meet physically? Why I'm saying this is, if I look at what are the online massive gaming universes and they're playing players doing every day, what are the business digital forefront runners doing? Now, if we take a look at this, this is World of Warcraft. I don't know how many of you have played it or not, but it's a really intense game. And if we have a look at it, so here you have a player, and here you have another player, and here you have the third one, and here you have the fourth one. And what are these players doing? They're, solving a common task. They're trying to take out this giant spider here, and they're trying to achieve something together. They are working with tasks, common goals, and they're trying to achieve something working together. I'm going to ask you a new question. World of Warcraft poll. In doing tasks, solving problems, working for a common goal in World of Warcraft or EVE Online, the same thing. Is it the same thing as doing a work as a company? What I would like to get your input of, if we're gathering to play World of Warcraft or EVE Online, is it the same thing as doing it as a work for a company, i.e. doing tasks, doing joint missions? So how do we see this? Is doing tasks, solving problems and so forth the same as in World of Warcraft or EVE Online, or is it the same thing as doing it for a company? I'm just going to end the poll, just a quick survey here. There we are. People 100% saw it as it's the same thing. I had an online meeting with a 20-year-old. His name is Axel Deman Lapidot. He's born in 2000, and he's an avid gamer. And we had a chat about this and how he sees the world right now, working online as well, because he's been working online quite a lot. And his first question is, isn't that in World of Warcraft, you are creating and doing real value, common goals, agreements, together solve problems and challenges? And his quote was, what is the difference when I'm sitting in a wolf raid, i.e. working together to take out the spider, and doing joint tasks behind my computer, and sitting around a conference table in a shirt and tie doing joint tasks? It's the same for him. The only difference is that it's more expensive to do the real meeting. Only difference, it's not real life. That is his opinion. And I would say maybe World of Warcraft and playing that is doing online meetings in the world. So World of Warcraft is, of course, in Dungeons and Dragons world. It's trolls and goblins, healers and so forth. Here is EVE Online. It's set in the space. There's 4,000 players on this image. It's probably hard to see. You can read about it more here. And here they're doing a giant battle. So there are different companies doing battles against each other in EVE Online. And EVE Online has companies. They do 1 million transactions daily where they get together and do trade. The companies are very different in size. One of the bigger ones, Pandemic Horde, there are over 12,000 players in that company, and they never met physically. And you can also say, well, it's very hard to create feelings online. How would you create feelings? I'll send you a link. I was in my Dropbox and digged out in my archives. In 2004, I saw this video from Rona, which was an EVE Online corporation, that they wanted to create a feeling for me as a player to join their company and to get a feeling that I would like them. And here they had, one corporation, one purpose, one destiny, EVE, Rona Corporation, join now. So here, if we want to create feelings online, maybe we should work more with video and similar like that. This is an example of an interface in EVE Online. And it's very, very cluttered, of course, for a person who is not used to it. But here's a chat channel for communication in several parallel channels. At the same time, I'm surfing a regional market to see if I can get goods online that I need, and I can see an email. And this is already back in 2004 where this interface was. So Slack, for instance, is not a new channel. So next time we maybe do a webinar, we should have a more chat interaction with us, when we want to ask questions and so forth. If we don't look at the gaming world, if we then look at the business world, here I was attending in October, I was attending Distributed 19, which was an online conference. And this conference was driven by the question, does a conference need to be in a building? And here I think we can learn, for instance, Distributed 19 was a company based called Miro, and they're doing a whiteboard. And they had 10,000 community members joining, 38 speakers, 15 sessions over 3 tracks in 3 days. And here, one of the things I liked especially was they had a Slack community. So whilst I was attending a seminar, I could chat with other people who joined the seminar. I could also see with their backgrounds, and if I was saying, oh, that's a person I would like to chat on more after the seminar, we could make that arrangement. And here also, I think is a really, really cool thing is that Webdagarna, they can't do it physically. So in 5 days, they transformed and did it, doing it now digitally. And here you have a video of promotion video for them, for their digital event. And you get the link to this presentation afterwards. And I think that's really cool when you see the capabilities right now. So people are getting pushed into the deep end of the pool. And I think that will be a landmark in that we start working really, really much online. And also met with MiaSQL, which had their CEO, Morten Mikos, between 2001 and 2008. And they were over 400 employees, and 70% of the employees worked from their home. They had, as Mikos said, 110 airport codes, 32 countries, and 16 time zones. And they built a corporate culture that was 100% online. They never met. So I think when we're challenged with this, look at the forefront runners. Look at the people who are having experience, and maybe talk to young people and say, how would you design this? How would you do this kind of thing? So the new statement and paradigm is that we can create the above to create shared values and goals with the right mindset and the right support from online tools to be able to effectively meet, do workshops, and work online. And now I'm just going to do the third poll here. So after hearing about the gaming example, what is your opinion about the new statement? Do you agree with it, that we can work effectively if we have the right mindset and have the right online tools to effectively meet and do workshops and work online? And of course, we can still meet in the real world, but I just want to push the envelope here. I just want to challenge us and say, do we really need to meet physically to create this real value, which I hear a lot of. Oh, we can't solve this deep technical issue unless we meet, or we can come to this agreement unless we really, really interact with each other and meet. I agree with the new statement and paradigm, voted 100%. Thanks very much. Really cool getting your input. Continuing, online remote workshops and meetings best practice. This is a vast area, of course. I can't go into each and every one, but I will give you some slides here. I won't go into detail. You can connect with them over the link. But before the online meeting, make sure you do right preparations. Where you're going to sit, how you're going to connect, what is the backup plan if somebody disconnects and so forth. Have a good onboarding document, you know, for a pre-read for the user to take in and say, oh, what do I need to do? What do I need to prepare? And so forth before the meeting. This, of course, should be in a real meeting as well, but it's even more important in the online meeting. And during the online meeting, what can I think of? What can I do and what can I make out of it? And I'm going to show that in a couple of slides. And after the online meeting, what is the actions that I need to do? What is the to-dos? Have a space to collaborate on. Or if you're going to run more meetings, in between the meetings, if several meetings, what is the things you're going to do with the participants between the meetings? So during an online meeting, I will not read this for you because you can read it yourself when you go into this board, but it's basically connecting technology, how to connect and sit, your pace when you're talking, and if you're a facilitator, leader, what you can think of. There's some challenges, of course, social. It's hard to take a coffee together during an online break, or is it? Maybe if I should have prepared you before this webinar to say, have a coffee, and we would have video between every else's a meeting instead of a webinar, we could say, oh, have a nice coffee right now. But then also boring, maybe not automatically, but if it's a one-way communication too much, it's maybe boring, so keep it short, but also make interactions. Poll is a good one, for instance, or Q&A, have questions that you let your audience do. Also important is risk of misconceptions due to risk of different realities. This can happen in a real meeting as well as an online meeting. we talk about something and everybody here, the different stakeholders are thinking, what are we really talking about? Making assumption of things is the mother of all F-ups, of course. So how do we clarify that we all are on the same page? Well, without a shared reality, understanding is hard to have effective meetings. And a map can create a shared reality. A map is a model over a concept that we're thinking. Here, for instance, Skåne is in the south of Sweden, and we have Norrland in the north. We can zoom in and zoom out like this, and we can have different layers. So by doing this, all of a sudden, we all have the same model. And one way of doing this is tools like Miro that is working online. And with this online tool, you can then, of course, do a very complex map and meeting sketch. For instance, here is a company that says where we do strategy planning, production, pricing, marketing, and sales, and so on. And if we want to dive down, we can then remove this layer and dive down even more into each and every detail. So that's the advantage of working with an online environment where you can view and zoom in and zoom out, and that you can have different layers. So to finalize this, I'm going to wrap it up. See it as young people. Quotes by Axel when I talked to him in our online talk, which I loved. I don't have any need to meet someone in real life to work together. You can't cheat your way to a CV in World of Warcraft. I can see your achievements and what you've been doing in the computer game. In the reality and in a computer game, you can see if the person is skilled or not. It's quite obvious after a couple of minutes, he said. And everyone is investing time, so you can't just sit around and waste time playing with players that are not engaged and are not motivated or not fulfilling their end of their agreement. And regardless of platform, you feel that this is someone you want to work with and so forth. His way of building relationships is by interacting over Skype or Discord, which is another online platform for communicating. So when you're going to do a meeting and a workshop online, and instead of sitting with an old film that you're looking at and working online, saying, okay, what is the size of the meeting? Is it 3 or 30 people? Does it need to be a meeting or workshop? Can it be a micro meetings or homework in between? What type of meeting is it? Is it a decision meeting, information meeting, steering group meeting, planning meeting, and so forth? Do we want it to be formal or informal? To create a connection, maybe we could tell a personal story. Start everybody off with, as participants saying, when I was 5, the most thing that scared me was this. Then I create a personal emotion to someone. And is it a workshop to do what? Is it to be creative, to solve a problem? If it's to be creative, should we post up in before the workshop actually take place, ideas that we have around the topic that we want to solve? So make a new design of the whole online meeting. A client company that I used to work with a couple of months ago was a service chain we have never met in real life. And what we did as a meeting and workshop was strategic and tactical concept workshops for them. And I was in Sweden. We had another person, a colleague of mine, Kate, sitting in New York, people joining in from Canada and US, all on a remote basis. We never met with the company. And we were mixing a presentation style where we had presentations together with that we actually worked on a board where they all connected and wrote down on post-it notes their ideas, and that we sorted them out in different axes on what was important and not. So when we're doing online meetings and workshop, the tools we can use is, of course, sound and video. We can use Teams, Zoom, and others. We can use shared whiteboards as Miro. That's the one I'm using right now. Mural, Stormboard, and so forth. And future on, I will dig down into one of these tools and show you how to work with them. We're probably going to work with a shared task to do management system. Either if we're a software developer, we're going to use Jira, or maybe Asana if we want to share tasks between people. And what skills do I need to acquire as an online meeting leader and facilitator, or as an online participant? I maybe need to learn a new skill set, how to work online and how to interact online. So with that, I want to be able to thank you so much for joining me for 30 minutes of webinar. I will post out in an email a link to this presentation as a whiteboard, so you can, without registering, zooming out and zooming in of this whole whiteboard, as you can see here right now. And you can, if you want, make comments on it, and I will see those comments if you want to say, well, this is an area that I want to get more information on, or that you should cover in future episodes. So with that, I would like to thank you all for joining me in this morning for a morning coffee and a talk about the online world, that we need the right mindset, we need the right opportunities. We need to dive in and start using these tools. Well, I never worked with a whiteboard before that is online. Well, how hard can it be? An 8-year-old wouldn't see it as hard. They would just try and do it. And if something happens like a glitch, oh, we didn't have this poll that worked in the seminar. Well, make a workaround. I could always send this question out to you afterwards and you can answer it then. So it's no big hassle if it isn't working straight when you're doing it. Thanks very much for your time. And remember, stay connected with your friends online. I'm having an online chat every evening with my mom. She's 80 right now and she's loving it. So thanks very much.